Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be looking at the lawsuit against FS1 by one of their former employees, and this lawsuit is probably about 42 pages long. It's a crazy lawsuit. It reads like something from a Lifetime movie. Basically, it's trying to uncover behind the scenes of how employees are treated. The employees that are on the set, the people who do the hairdressing, the makeup, the things like that, and basically it's painting a picture of a volatile workplace where there's misogyny, patriarchy, sexual favors, people getting treated wrong, not paid well, and just discrimination and abuse going on. It just seems like some crazy stuff going on, and then sprinkle it in with some sensationalism, because then you got Skip Bayless trying to pay for sex and solicit sex. You got Joy Taylor sleeping her way to the top, and you got executives wielding power over people and sleeping with them. It just, like I said, it reads like a Lifetime movie. Now, you have to bear with me today. I'm under the weather. I'm suffering really bad from allergies today. So my eyes are leaking, my nose running. It's insane today. Now, this is going to be a long video. It's going to be kind of sluggish because all I'm going to be doing is looking through the lawsuit and reading it. So if you like that type of thing, lock in. If you don't, you can go to some of the other videos on my page. I don't have that many right now because I just started, but hopefully you can subscribe, and let's lock in and let's start looking at this lawsuit. Okay, so let's take a look at some of this lawsuit. Okay, and the filer is Noushin Faraji, and of course it's against the Fox Corporation, Charlie Dixon, Skip Bayless, Joy Taylor. And she's alleging failure to pay minimum wages, failure to pay overtime wages, failure to reimburse business expenses, failure to pay all wages upon separation, failure to furnish accurate itemized wage statements, unfair, unlawful, or fraudulent business practices. And her individual complaints is sexual battery, hostile work environment due to race. First one was for gender. Hostile work environment for disability, failure to protect harassment, or failure to prevent harassment, negligent supervision, hiring and retention, retaliation, and wrongful termination. Okay, let's see what this says here. She's suing Fox Sports, defendant Charlie Dixon, defendant Skip Bayless, and defendant Joy Taylor. Let's hear the summary of action. Ms. Faraji brings forth this action because for over a decade at Fox, she was forced to endure a misogynistic, racist, and ableist workplace where executives and talent were allowed to physically and verbally abuse workers with impunity. When Ms. Faraji and others came forward to report the wrongdoing, instead of addressing their concerns, Fox retaliated against them, while the perpetrators and those who protected them were inexplicably promoted. This case thus represents yet another in a long line of cases chronicling the toxic culture at Fox, marked by bad faith promises, repeated failures to address a poisonous and entrenched patriarchy. Okay, let's look here. So, of course, the first part is she's talking about them mistreating non-exempt hourly employees. Then the next part is about the harassment. Let's see what we got going on here. The parties, that's her. She was a hairstylist on a part-time basis from approximately 2012 to 2016, and on a full-time basis from 2016 to 2024, August. So they must have got rid of her in August of 2024. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Then it just goes into her factual background. 2003, she began working at a hair salon, yada yada yada. We're just trying to go through this and get to the good parts real quick. Eventually, she did end up working at Fox through connections and people. So she started in 2012. A makeup artist, introduced her to some people. By the time we got to 2016, she got hired on as a full-time stylist. Okay. This is where it gets juicy, and this is where the juicy parts come in. In approximately March 2016, Miss Faraji met Miss Taylor, an aspiring sports personality that had recently moved from Miami to Los Angeles for the opportunity of airtime at Fox. At the time, Miss Taylor did not have a regular position, but would fill in on a day-to-day basis when talent was sick or otherwise missed time. Miss Taylor told Miss Faraji that she was recently wed, but her husband remained in Miami and that she was lonely in Los Angeles. Miss Taylor then befriended Miss Faraji. This is how Miss Taylor gets into this whole lawsuit, because she befriended this lady. So now this lady was privy to everything that Miss Taylor was doing. In approximately May 2016, Miss Taylor asked Miss Faraji to meet for a drink in Santa Monica. When Miss Faraji arrived, she found Miss Taylor with an older man, Fox Sports Executive Vice President of Content, Mr. Dixon. As Executive Vice President, Mr. Dixon is responsible for overseeing all content and production on FS1. Miss Faraji, however, did not know Mr. Dixon. When Mr. Dixon went to buy them another round of spicy margaritas, Miss Faraji asked who he was. Miss Taylor responded that he was just a friend. Following that night, whenever Miss Faraji would meet with Miss Taylor for drinks or food, Mr. Dixon would either arrive with Miss Taylor or show up later in the night and leave with Miss Taylor. He would always buy rounds of drinks and or food. From their body language, Miss Faraji suspected that the pair were sleeping with each other, and although this concerned Miss Faraji, she knew Miss Taylor was recently married. Miss Faraji kept her opinions to herself. That's spicy, like those spicy margaritas. But I always say, if you're gonna do dirt, don't bring witnesses. I don't know why she brought her friend along, but I don't know if she was showing off to her or anything. But don't bring witnesses when you're doing dirt. In approximately June 2016, while at work, Miss Faraji noticed Mr. Dixon in the elevator. Surprised by the coincidence, Miss Faraji found Miss Taylor and told her excitedly, "The guy who always buys our drinks was in the elevator." Miss Taylor quickly silenced Miss Faraji, explaining who he was. Miss Faraji became alarmed and warned Miss Taylor that such a relationship was unsafe. Miss Taylor told her not to worry about it. Miss Faraji continued to be friends with Miss Taylor, but tried to distance herself as she considered the situation dangerous as well as morally wrong, as Miss Taylor and Mr. Dixon were both married. I'm not sure about all that. I'm sure she didn't. Now, hindsight is 2020. It's nice to write that in there because it looks good for the lawsuit, but I'm not sure that she was like really conflicted about hanging out with her. She probably was just like, probably just was documenting it. Since she's got all the dates and stuff, it seems like she's very meticulous in documenting everything for a later date. Who knows? But approximately, let's go further on. In approximately July 2016, word spread among Fox employees about a new show that was going to be a big deal, as it would star Mr. Bayless and Shannon Sharp. It was known that Fox was looking for a woman with significant TV experience to also star. Therefore, it came as a surprise when Fox announced Miss Taylor, who was a bartender and radio host in Miami with very little TV experience, would be the moderator of the new show, a sports debate program, Skip and Shannon Undisputed. Mr. Bayless later disclosed to Miss Faraji that he did not want Miss Taylor on the show, but Mr. Dixon was adamant that Miss Taylor should star. At first, Mr. Dixon arranged a dinner between Mr. Bayless and Miss Taylor, where she arrived in provocative clothing and acted in a provocative manner. When that did not change Mr. Bayless's opinion of Miss Taylor, Mr. Dixon asked him to approve of her as a favor to him. Reluctantly, Mr. Bayless agreed to do so as a favor to his friend. Now, isn't that something? So basically it's painting a picture of her not getting ahead on her talent, but getting ahead because of sleeping to the top. And even to the point where, because she had this guy in her pocket, forced Skip Bayless to let her be on her show, even though he didn't want her on there and she didn't have the type of experience to be on his show. Now, a lot of people always wondered about Joy. I never really wondered about Miss Taylor. I thought she was okay on sports shows. Not over the top great or anything, but I thought she had a little spice, like those spicy margaritas. But I thought she had a little spice to shows. But I know the biggest contention about her over the years was people thought maybe because her brother was a football player for the Dolphins that maybe he pulled some strings. That was always a big contention with people. And I know she'd always push back and say, she worked very hard. But everybody always thought she got a leg up. And some people might have speculated that she had did some things behind the scenes. But now this is bringing a lot of the stuff to light. Now, allegedly. But this is crazy. It is crazy that, how Skip Bayless is, but somebody made him. I guess it got, hey, come on, do this as a favor to me. Let's keep continuing. Around August 2016, Ms. Faraji attended dinner with Ms. Taylor and her husband, Mr. Dixon, and his wife. Okay, she attended with Ms. Taylor and her husband. So Ms. Taylor's husband came to town, and Mr. Dixon and his wife was there, and somehow they just brought Ms. Faraji there. I guess Ms. Taylor was just bringing her everywhere as her friend. She's like the third wheel or something. During the dinner, Ms. Taylor's husband became suspicious that Ms. Taylor and Mr. Dixon were having a sexual relationship. Soon after the dinner, Ms. Taylor's husband found evidence of the inappropriate relationship and divorced Ms. Taylor. God. I wonder how they hid that. In approximately September 2016, Undisputed started. Ms. Taylor requested Ms. Faraji to do her hair, so she really took a liking to this lady and just brought her along with her to everything and made her her personal hairstylist. Okay. In approximately November 2016, after not allowing anyone to touch his hair, Mr. Bayless also requested Ms. Faraji to do his hair. Okay. Now let's go ahead. On January 14, 2017, Ms. Taylor had her birthday party at Pearl's Rooftop in West Hollywood. Ms. Faraji and other Fox employees who were invited attended, as it was part of their job duties to please talent. And a birthday party is an important event. As usual, Mr. Dixon was heavily drinking, buying drinks for everyone on a Fox credit card, and blustering that everything purchased was on Fox's dime. Dang. She putting out all the business. As Ms. Faraji was standing near the bar facing the crowd, Mr. Dixon approached her. He asked the bartender for a drink, then placed his arm on Ms. Faraji's lower back. He asked how she was doing, if she was having fun, and if she wanted a tequila shot. Ms. Faraji felt very uncomfortable by his unsolicited touching and responded, "No thank you." Mr. Dixon then moved his hand lower and started rubbing her body and grabbing her buttocks. Ms. Faraji was mortified, but quickly thought to fake an incoming call to escape from the situation. Dang. Well, sometimes you are, by association, he probably thought, hey, I'm messing with Joy, you coming along a lot of times, maybe it's time for me to get a piece of you too. Ms. Faraji did not know who to turn to, but she knew Ms. Taylor was sleeping with Mr. Dixon, so she turned to her. Surprisingly, Ms. Taylor responded to get over it and explained that she herself only had her job because of Mr. Dixon, and Ms. Faraji only had her job because Ms. Taylor requested her. She warned that Mr. Dixon could take both away. Whew. That was probably not what she wanted to hear from her friend. Ms. Faraji was terrified, then turned to her co-worker, Anonymous, to discuss the situation. Anonymous responded that Mr. Dixon was disgusting, that the entire situation was sick, but it wasn't shocking to given Fox's culture, and that Ms. Faraji should remain quiet if she wanted to keep her job. So there was another person. So this looks like this is an environment where people just be like, be quiet if you want to keep your job and go along with it. As a single mother who needed a job to support her son, Ms. Faraji decided she had no choice but to remain silent. 7 years later, in 2023, Ms. Peretti told Ms. Faraji she did not like her or anything about Undisputed. Ms. Peretti expanded that she had already scheduled someone for hair on Undisputed when Mr. Dixon called her and told her that she must put Ms. Faraji on Undisputed full time. Ms. Peretti told Ms. Faraji, "I didn't like that. That's not how things should be done." Ms. Faraji was stunned and devastated as she prides herself on her work and earning her accolades. Later that day, while thinking about her career, she was angry that Ms. Peretti succumbed to Mr. Dixon's request, as it gave Ms. Dixon the feeling that he could grope her for giving her a job. Also, she found out that the guy put her, so she had Joy putting her into place, and Mr. Dixon was putting her into place to give her a job. So she felt bad because, hey, I'm not getting my accolades from my good hairdressing. These people are telling people to put me on. Yeah. Now she has another story here. Several years into Ms. Faraji's tenure at Fox, a female talent member hired Ms. Faraji to do her hair at her house for an awards show. Anonymous asked that Ms. Faraji meet her for lunch first. There, Anonymous told Ms. Faraji that she would no longer be with Fox, as Mr. Dixon told her that she would need to have sex with him if she wanted to renew her contract, but she had refused. Anonymous further conveyed Mr. Dixon was doing this to other women talent, and she should warn Ms. Taylor to be careful. A talk show host had recently reported Mr. Dixon. Following the lunch, Ms. Faraji called Ms. Taylor to convey what Anonymous had stated. Ms. Taylor responded that no one gives a F about Anonymous or the talk show host who had reported Mr. Dixon. Ms. Faraji later observed that Ms. Taylor's remark appeared accurate, as no actions were taken to address the concerns raised. If it was not already apparent, it became more clear that Fox enabled high-ranking individuals to abuse their authority, exerting undue control over female talent and employees. Okay, Some of this stuff is written pretty good, like it's a novel, but it's actually just a lawsuit. Okay, let me see here. She talks about fear in the workplace over as stories of mistreatment circulated. It says, one example, Mr. Dixon deliberately assigned a female talent member who had been harassed and reported it to a show set up to fail. When the show inevitably failed due to his sabotage, he used its failure as justification to terminate her employment. In another instance, a coworker who frequently cried in the hallway due to relentless sexual harassment was fired just 1 week after reporting it. These repeated incidents reinforce the atmosphere where speaking up seemed futile and dangerous. Oh man, that just sounds like a crazy atmosphere. Now, we're going to get to some Mr. Bayless allegations. Skip Bayless. The one that everybody loves to hate. Mr. Bayless begins to give Miss Faraji lingering hugs and kisses on the cheek while putting his body against hers and pressing against her breast. After reporting by talk show host fell on deaf ears, Mr. Bayless began requesting that Miss Faraji give him a haircut once a week in the makeup room. Miss Faraji did as she was told, as Miss Peretti required Miss Faraji to give haircuts to talent. Initially during the haircuts, Mr. Bayless would discuss his life, his work at Fox, and other innocuous matters. However, soon after the weekly haircut started, Mr. Bayless began finding excuses to touch Miss Faraji. He would give her lingering hugs after each haircut, putting his body against her own, pressing against her breast. He began to kiss her on her cheeks. Miss Faraji was uncomfortable by the physical contact and would make excuses to leave right after the haircuts. Whoa, oh my goodness. She would say, I need to pick my son up for school, is one of her excuses. Damn, Skip. You know what? I know Skip was a jerk on the air and stuff, but I didn't see that coming. Now, this is allegedly, but I wouldn't put it past him. In approximately summer of 2017, while Miss Faraji was giving Mr. Bayless a haircut, he told her that she was voluptuous. As English is her second language, she was not familiar with the word. Miss Faraji asked what that meant. Mr. Bayless seemed amused and told her to figure it out. Miss Faraji later asked a coworker what it meant and was mortified. Mr. Bayless then started being more aggressive and direct in his advances. Miss Faraji continuously declined, stating that she did not date at work as she is a single mom and needed her job. Hold on for a minute here. My eyes all watering today. Allergies. This stuff was getting juicy though. Miss Faraji was terrified, then turned to her co-worker to discuss the situation. The two decided that because Mr. Bayless was a powerful man and Fox protected powerful men, it would only be to her detriment to report the issue. The two decided that Miss Faraji needed to be kind towards Mr. Bayless or risk her job. As a single mother who relied on her job to support her son, Miss Faraji felt that she had no choice. So this seems like it's painting a picture of dominant men in a culture of them just doing crazy stuff to women, and everybody was scared, and if you reported it, nothing happened, you got fired, or they found a way to get rid of you. So you just needed to toe the line and be sexual objects at the job and do whatever they told you to. Okay, and this goes into, she says she hurt her back at work in November 2017, couldn't move for near 40 days and received workers' compensation. In December 2017, when she returned from her leave, she was not provided her full-time schedule and learned from a coworker that Miss Peretti had promised her shifts to someone else, which that's only natural because that lady didn't want you there to begin with. She called her union for help. Her union informed her that Miss Peretti's actions would be illegal under the law. Miss Faraji then called Human Resources, who confirmed that she was entitled to her pre-leave schedule. On January 5th, 2018, Miss Peretti called Miss Faraji in her office. When Miss Faraji arrived, an individual from Human Resources was present, and Miss Peretti was falsely explaining that Miss Faraji did not want her full-time schedule. Miss Faraji grew upset and explained that she did want her full-time schedule, and further explained that Miss Peretti had been targeting her, treating her poorly for years. Miss Faraji then had multiple meetings with HR and Human Resources where she explained that Miss Peretti yelled at her, made fun of her, and bullied her. From Miss Faraji's perspective, there was no resolution after these conversations, as she was never informed of any sort of conclusion or action taken on Fox's part. Probably just took that lady to the side and talked to her. Let me see, 2018, Miss Taylor was moved from Undisputed to The Herd with Colin Cowherd. I remember that. I actually liked Joy with Colin Cowherd. Miss Taylor again requested Miss Faraji to do her hair, so she keep bringing this lady along with her every move she makes. So she must have really liked this lady and really confided in her, because she was taking her with her while she was cheating and taking her with her as she moved up the ladder. Colin Cowherd also requested Miss Faraji to do his hair. Oh shit. Hope Callan. Well, I didn't see him named in here. I actually like Colin Cowherd. I think he's above the board, so I don't think there's going to be anything in here about him doing anything. Thus, every day Miss Faraji would do Mr. Bayless's hair for Undisputed, and then would do Miss Taylor and Mr. Cowherd's hair for The Hurt. Throughout her entire tenure at Fox, Mr. Cowherd was professional and respectful to Miss Faraji and her coworkers, because he always seems like a very respectful dude and very, very professional. So I'm glad to hear that. Around this time, after learning of Miss Taylor and Mr. Dixon's sexual relationship, Miss Taylor's then fiance broke off the engagement and threatened to go public with all he knew. So now she got another guy that found out. Man, Miss Taylor, I'm sorry, if this is true, Joy Taylor is terrible at hiding her affairs or hiding her little stuff, because she already lost a husband and now she has a fiance break off an engagement. Is she leaving her phone out? What is she doing? You see, her fiance broke off the engagement and threatened to go public with all he knew. On information and belief, Mr. Dixon paid for the wedding deposits in an informal exchange for her fiance's silence. So they said that the Dixon dude paid the dude off basically to disappear and not tell a snitch on Joy. That's crazy. Dang, let me see here. Dang, she's outing all kinds of guys. She says a guy who does the mics named Bobby Diaz mocked her for her pronunciation of English words and sexualized the way she was eating fruit. Miss Faraji did not respond. She just kept her eyes glued on the monitor, playing Undisputed. Miss Faraji was present and did not do anything. On information and belief, Mr. Diaz openly gropes, harasses, an inappropriate woman on Fox. Oh, okay. So she's painting a picture of not even just the top talent guys, even guys that put the microphones on people with sexual deviance and saying crazy stuff. So this is just painting a picture of Fox, behind the scenes of Fox Sports News, that it was just a patriarchal climate of guys, even guys that as low as microphone guys were just freaky dudes, and that was just the norm. Let's go on and see if we can find anything else here. Okay, here we go, back to Miss Taylor again. In approximately February 2020, Miss Taylor asked Miss Faraji to meet her for lunch in Beverly Hills. When Miss Faraji arrived, she found Miss Taylor with a man, Emmanuel Acho. Emmanuel Acho. Miss Faraji did not know Mr. Acho, but could tell the two were romantically involved. She always picks up right away that Miss Taylor is romantically involved with somebody as soon as she meets him. A few months after meeting Mr. Acho at lunch, Miss Faraji noticed him in the hallway while at work. Miss Faraji later asked Miss Taylor if Mr. Acho also worked at Fox. Miss Taylor confirmed and explained that she wanted Mr. Acho to eventually recommend her on the show Speak for Yourself. Okay, let me stop there for a minute. If all this is true, I'm saying Joy had a great plan in place, though, because she was moving, boom, to this show, to this show, to this show. She was getting through there. Now, this is allegedly. But she had a plan and she was executing it. And she was getting those jobs, I'll tell you. Now, Miss Taylor confirmed and explained that she wanted Mr. Acho to eventually recommend her on the show Speak for Yourself. Miss Faraji became alarmed and warned Miss Taylor that she should not sleep with Mr. Dixon and Mr. Acho at the same time, as Mr. Dixon is a very powerful man that may become very angry. Miss Taylor told her not to worry about it. She explained that she was also now powerful, and once Mr. Dixon was no longer useful to her, she would follow through on her plan to tell the company that he forced himself on her, and she would not allow herself to be forced out by Mr. Dixon like other women talent. Oh, goodness. That sounds crazy now. So now it seems like everybody is devious in this situation. She's using, allegedly, I always gotta keep saying allegedly because this is just a lawsuit and everybody's innocent until proven guilty or whatever. But this is a civil lawsuit, so it's not like it's a criminal lawsuit. But in this whole environment, it's like Joy's using people to get ahead, but at the same time, she's holding her cards. Even though you use this guy to get ahead, she's got a card in her back pocket to tell the company he forced himself on her. So basically, I'm sure she's probably was keeping evidence in the tuck also. But I'm still I'm still kind of confused about how she kept taking this lady along with her. So she's just giving her privy to all the background stuff. I wonder if she just never knew if the lady would ever use this against her or blow the whistle. In approximately September 2022, Miss Taylor started to work on Speak. And she brought Miss Faraji along to do her hair once again. So she was getting those jobs. So every job she set out to get, she was getting them. Let me see here. She said now she got targeted because of her ethnicity. Oh, because she's Persian. Okay. So she said another employee yelled at her at a steakhouse. I'm just scrolling over some of this stuff, and none of this is a lot of stuff to get to because I think this the document is around 42 pages. So I'm just trying to do some highlights. A lot of this stuff is her just going to human resources after different incidents and nothing happening. So that's the crux of a lot of this the lawsuit. And then of course the sensational stuff is the talent messing with her. The sensationalism is the big name talent like Joy not helping her, and Skip trying to harass her. Okay, she said she had to go to therapy. Okay, we're going back to Skip Bayless here. Over the years, Mr. Bayless continued to make advances on Miss Faraji, lingering hugs, kisses on the cheek, and inappropriate comments that he could change her life if she acquiesced. Well, he could change her life if she wanted to have sex. Miss Faraji would always make excuses regarding her son, politely change the subject, or make a joke, anything to keep Mr. Bayless pleased and her job safe. Damn, Mr. Bayless, you sound like an old pimp. I could change your life. In July 2021, Miss Faraji developed issues with her left ovary and was advised it could be cancer. With a fourth biopsy scheduled, she explained her situation to Mr. Bayless, hoping that he would take pity on her and cease his advances. Instead, Mr. Bayless told her that he wanted to be with her. That just seems wild. Hey, look, I probably have cancer. Yeah, so I want to get with you. What? Miss Faraji panicked and began rambling that there were cameras everywhere and that she has a child and that she does not want him. Mr. Bayless then grabbed her hands, began kissing them, and offered her $1.5 million to have sex. Miss Faraji made an excuse to leave. Okay. That is wild. Because I'm just looking at that. You come in and say, hey, look, man. Because I thought maybe she was going to say, hey, could you help me out? Because I have cancer, maybe, and I have a single mom with a son. That's why I thought it was going. But instead, she just is like, I'm just trying to tell him, hey, I got cancer. Would you please stop bothering me? And he instead says, I'll give you $1.5 million just to have sex. Wow. If this is a true story, I have to give her kudos for her resolve. Like she said, she's a lady that's struggling, a single mother who has cancer, and you have a man in your face saying, I can give you $1.5 million just for some sex. And she stood steadfast. No, I don't want to. She said, okay. 1 week later, Mr. Bayless made another advance at Miss Faraji. Miss Faraji responded, Skip, stop. You have a wife. Mr. Bayless responded, aren't you Muslim? Doesn't your dad have 3 to 4 wives? Oh my God. She responded that her father was dead. And when Mr. Bayless looked taken back, she made an excuse to leave. Somehow I can see Skip Bayless saying this. That's what makes it terrible. On April 12, 2022, Mr. Bayless texted Miss Faraji, I'm good today. The text meant that she would not be coming in for hair or makeup. On April 13, 2022, Mr. Bayless texted her, I'm not comfortable coming down there. Just do what you need to do. It's okay. Miss Faraji asked him what was wrong. He replied, same stuff, worse. Miss Faraji, concerned about her own job, walked to Mr. Bayless's fitting room to see if everything was okay. Mr. Bayless answered the door. And before Miss Faraji could speak, he began to angrily accuse her of effing Mr. Sharp. He's always had a thing with Shannon. I don't know. This doesn't surprise me. You know, this is probably around the time they were getting volatile with each other, and he was always down in Shannon Sharp. Now it's a big thing between them. Like, oh, you're messing with him instead of me. That's the jealousy thing. That's crazy. Ms. Faraji tried to explain that she did not have any feelings towards Mr. Sharp and had never slept with him or any other talent member or employee at Fox. But before she could speak, Mr. Bayless demanded that she come to his car after the show. Ms. Faraji responded that she could not come sit in his car as it was inappropriate. Mr. Bayless grew irate and then left. Wow. Wow. Now this is, I have to keep saying allegedly because we're just reading this. It's her word against theirs, whatever. But why do I believe this is, why do I believe this is true for some reason? It just seems like something that Skip would do. On April 14, 2022, Mr. Bayless texted Ms. Faraji, if you're distracted tomorrow, I'll wait until Monday, but I can't keep doing this. Ms. Faraji told him that she was very confused. Mr. Bayless responded, trust me, I'm far more confused. Ms. Faraji then explained over text that she's not sleeping with Mr. Sharp. Mr. Bayless did not respond. On April 15, 2022, Mr. Bayless texted Ms. Faraji, do you still want to do the haircut or just move on? Ms. Faraji responded that she didn't want to move on from her job and that she would continue to do his hair. On April 16th, Mr. Bayless called Ms. Faraji. Ms. Faraji did not answer the call because she was scared. She then called him back 10 minutes later. On the call, Mr. Bayless again angrily accused her of effing Mr. Sharp and said that he could tell from her body language that she was effing him. My God. That's crazy. Ms. Faraji tried to explain that she was kind to all talent, and that included laughing and engaging in conversation. Ms. Faraji then asked if he was yelling at her because she refused to go to his car. Mr. Bayless answered that she shouldn't talk to him like that. Ms. Faraji replied that she could respond however she wanted. Mr. Bayless then angrily stated that he heard her talk to Mr. Sharp about her vagina. Ms. Faraji knew this to be untrue and was embarrassed and angry. Ms. Faraji responded that even if she had been dating Mr. Sharp, which she wasn't, it shouldn't matter at all because she only had a professional relationship with Mr. Bayless. Ooh, I'm sure he did not like that. I'm sure he didn't like that at all. On April 17, 2022, Ms. Faraji arrived in the makeup room, approximately a 12-foot by 30-foot room containing 3 makeup and hair stations. She turned on a recording device, put it on the table, and waited for Mr. Bayless to arrive. Okay. In the meantime, 2 of Ms. Faraji's co-workers who were privy to Mr. Bayless' actions went into the other talent members' rooms to listen in to the conversation. Okay, so she had it set up to where she had told her friends or people she worked with, and she was going to record them. Let's see how this goes. Mr. Bayless then arrived in the makeup room for Ms. Faraji to cut his hair in accordance with his regular schedule. Mr. Bayless knew that the makeup room was always recorded. Oh, so the makeup room was always recorded? So Fox already know they have a problem there. So she had her own recording device, but the room was already recorded. And he clearly states this room is bugged. During their conversation, Mr. Bayless stated he would hate for her to lose her job, but she couldn't be doing a big thing with my arch rival. Now, is this the time they still was on the show and he's calling him his arch rival? That explains a lot then. She responded by reiterating that being polite to Mr. Sharp is part of her job. Mr. Bayless responded, bull blank. I'm calling bull blank on you. Now, you know what? The funny thing is, I can see him saying it. This sounds exactly like him. Mr. Bayless then warned that he doesn't want her to lose her job over this. Ms. Faraji responded that she wasn't going to lose her job because she's a great hairdresser. Mr. Bayless responded, I have love for you. I have for 6 years, and you hurt me, and you are ruining this. Ms. Faraji again responded that she must be polite to all talent. Mr. Bayless then implied if he stopped requesting her, it would affect her job. Ms. Faraji responded that she is scheduled to work every morning, 5:45 a.m., and if he would like to get his hair done, he is welcome to sit in her chair. Mr. Bayless continued to threaten her job. Ms. Faraji knew he was trying to pressure her into having sex with him, but she kept repeating that she was a professional and had to be kind to all talent. On the April 21st of 2022, Mr. Bayless asked if Ms. Faraji would come to his home to color his hair, a side job that Ms. Faraji previously would partake in when Mr. Bayless's wife was home. On this occasion, with her therapist's help, she conveyed that she would no longer be going to his house. The following week, Mr. Bayless arrived in the makeup room as if their conversations had never happened, but Ms. Faraji remained on edge. Ms. Faraji had worsening nightmares regarding the incidents that took place with Mr. Bayless. Ms. Faraji's therapist started using eye movement desensitization and reprocessing to talk through her interactions with Mr. Bayless. Now, I see she keeps mentioning the therapist. Now, I wonder if these therapist records will get subpoenaed in this lawsuit or anything like that. Because if she really was going through therapy for years, and they have tapes, of course, or they have client privilege, but she could forego that and they could have it out there, and then they could go through years of her talking to a therapist about what was going on. Let me see what else we got here. This is a lot of stuff to get through. Okay, in 2021, October 21, her friendship with Miss Taylor ended. Miss Taylor then began insulting Miss Faraji on a personal and professional level. Okay, so this is what explains it. Because I was wondering if Joy Taylor kept taking her along and making her privy to all her excursions on the side. What happened for her to put her into this lawsuit? Because it seemed like they were good friends, or at least Joy counted her as a good friend. So this is where the friendship breaks down. She started insulting Miss Faraji on a personal and professional level. In early 2023, June 2023, the treatment reached a breaking point as Miss Taylor began openly mocking Miss Faraji's English. and complaining that Miss Faraji's humming, an involuntary subconscious coping mechanism for a diagnosed PTSD. Miss Taylor began stating that she needed a black hairstylist. Oh, terrible. Miss Faraji and her coworkers, who noticed the harsh interactions, hoped that Fox could see through the facade, as Miss Faraji had been doing Miss Taylor's hair for approximately 7 years, at Miss Taylor's own request without any complaint, and had been working on textured hair for decades. She was hired to do hairstyles of over 10 black background dancers in CeeLo Green's music video. F you. Miss Faraji's June 1st, 2023 diary entry states, she's been acting like because I'm not black, I'm stupid. She keeps saying black girls' hair should be done like this and not how you do it. I've been doing her hair for 7 years. She keeps making me feel that my English is not good. She keeps making comments like, oh, white girls are dumb. Oh. So I'm guessing this lady is a Parisian who looks white. Dang. That just seems... So why did Joy turn on her? I don't know. Maybe she just... That seems weird. Let's keep going. On June 14, 2023, she reported incidents to Miss Peretti. Well, Miss Peretti doesn't even like her already. I could go over this. She keeps talking about her diary entry. She kept an entry, but I don't know if that's... You can use that in court. But it does... Now that you're showing these dates, I believe in that diary. That's how she kept track. Because these dates are meticulous. So I'm thinking even when she first started, she always keeps a running diary and puts down dates, because all of these dates in this lawsuit are very meticulous. She has the exact dates of everything. So I'm thinking everything that she does, she probably writes down in her running diary. That's because if you go look through this lawsuit, everything is meticulous. And she gets every date every time she did something. On June 16, 2023, Miss Peretti pulled Miss Faraji into her office and asked her if she wanted to leave speak. Miss Faraji explained that she wanted to work. Miss Faraji told Miss Faraji that she should just leave the room when Miss Taylor was acting out. Miss Faraji, leave the room instead of them going to human resources. Miss Faraji noticed that this was a pattern. When Miss M bullied Miss Faraji, human resources told her to leave the room. And now when Miss Taylor bullied Miss Faraji, Miss Peretti again told her to leave the room. Miss Faraji's June 16, 2023 diary entry states, I'm very disappointed in how Fox operates. Racism and bullying. Instead of getting rid of the bully, they want to get rid of the victim. Let me see, we go. On June 21st, 2023, Miss Peretti called Miss Faraji in the office. Miss Peretti explained that while Miss Faraji should still go in every morning and set up her hair, Miss Taylor no longer needed her as a hairstylist. Miss Peretti explained that Miss Faraji was to work from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Oh, that's cutting her hours. And then go home. Miss Faraji asked about touch-ups. Miss Peretti stated that she had spoken to all the talent on the show and no one needed touch-ups. Miss Faraji then asked if she did something wrong. Miss Peretti responded, you remind me of my dog, and when I take my dog out, he barks at bigger dogs. That's you. She left the room and cried. To call someone a dog is one of the most offensive insults in the Parisian culture. Dang. This just sounds like a soap opera. I'm wondering when they're gonna do a show on this. Miss Peretti then hired 2 new black hairstylists to work from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. As Miss Taylor is very picky with her hair, she did not like the work of the 2 new black hairstylists and asked a coworker, who is a Latina woman, to do her hair 5 days a week. The coworker declined. So she said she needed a black hairstylist and didn't like the 2 new black hairstylists and one of the Latina. On July 4th, 21 and 24 of 2023, different talent members asked Miss Faraji why she was no longer providing touch-ups on Speak. The third time they asked her, Miss Faraji explained that because talent had indicated they did not need touch-ups, she was no longer available for touch-ups. The talent members were shocked and said they needed touch-ups on Speak. As Miss Faraji did not feel it was professional to mention her conversation with Miss Peretti, she explained that it must have been a misunderstanding. Miss Faraji formed employee relations. She became concerned for her job, as it was a common tactic employed by Fox when retaliating against a witness or target. Fox systematically reduces work schedules and ultimately terminates employees by removing an individual from schedule entirely, using fabricated business necessities as a pretext, which is true. I don't know about Fox, but I've seen employers do that at places. Okay, she said in mid-July 2023, Anna Drucker, Fox Sports Vice President of Employee Relations, asked Miss Faraji for a meeting. At the meeting, Miss Drucker asked if Miss Taylor was having a sexual relationship with Mr. Acho. Miss Faraji admitted that the 2 were in a sexual relationship. Miss Faraji shared this information because she didn't think it was a big deal, and because she didn't think Miss Taylor or Mr. Acho would physically harm her for providing this information. Mr. Acho had always been respectful to her and never threatened her or hurt her. On July 31st, Kelsey Doe of Employee Relations asked Ms. Faraji for a meeting. At the meeting, Ms. Doe told Ms. Faraji there had been complaints of her humming. Ms. Faraji explained that her humming is an involuntary subconscious coping mechanism for her diagnosed PTSD, and that everyone at Fox knew she hummed. Ms. Faraji further explained that she had been humming since she was a child and has been humming her entire tenure at Fox. Her humming was exasperated in stressful situations. Although she hates it and wants it to stop, she does not even realize when she is humming. She further explained that if anyone was not complaining, they were only doing so to hurt and embarrass her. Ms. Doe thanked Ms. Faraji for the information, abruptly changed the conversation, and quickly asked whether she had made public comments regarding Mr. Dixon and Ms. Taylor having sex. Ms. Faraji became very scared, as Mr. Dixon had previously assaulted her, and Ms. Taylor had warned her that he would fire her if she said anything, and responded that while everyone in the company knew about the relationship, she did not have any information and did not want to comment on it. Ms. Doe then tried to end the conversation and asked if Ms. Faraji had any questions. Ms. Faraji then began crying, asking why such a swift investigation took place regarding her humming, but no one cared about Miss M threatening to kill her or others mocking her English. Okay, Miss M was the other employee earlier in the lawsuit that had threatened her. Ms. Faraji had then explained that all she wants is a safe, normal work environment, but everyone mistreats her because there are no consequences for them. While she focused on others mocking her English, she was thinking of her interactions with Mr. Dixon and Mr. Bayless. On August 3rd, 2023, Ms. Faraji told approximately 8 of Ms. Faraji's co-workers to not associate with Ms. Faraji as she had a pending case with Human Resources. Dang. Ms. Faraji was confused, as from her perspective, she did not have a pending case with Human Resources. Employee Relations had only called her to answer questions regarding Ms. Taylor. I'm not even sure if they're supposed to do that. They just come out and say you can't talk to her. On August 9th, 2023, Ms. Peretti told Ms. Faraji that her service was officially no longer needed on Speak. Ms. Faraji's diary entry for that day states that they're only taking me off the show because I reported Joy. After I reported that, they took me off the show. This must be illegal. Okay, they said on August 21st, 2023, Fox's executive vice president of human resources and business operations, and Ms. Drucker asked Mr. Bayless for a meeting. When Mr. Bayless arrived, they told Mr. Bayless not to worry, that his job was safe. The two then started interrogating him on whether he had a romantic relationship with Ms. Faraji and whether she had offered him sex. When Mr. Bayless responded truthfully that she had never offered him sex, they again told him not to worry and that his job was safe, heavily implying that they wanted him to say otherwise. The circular conversation took place for approximately 20 minutes. Following the meeting, Mr. Dixon called Mr. Bayless and asked why he didn't just lie. Mr. Bayless responded that he cares about Ms. Faraji. Mr. Dixon responded, "Who cares? I can get you a better looking hairstylist." Okay, now how did she know about that part though? Unless somebody told her, or because I don't think she was privy to that conversation. The investigation is indicative of the role of human resources and employee relations as a protector of abusers and wrongdoers. Inexplicably, Fox has allowed human resources and employee relations to be personally intermingled with other departments and high-level decision makers for their own benefit. Let me see here. Let me go through and see if there's anything else that sticks out in here. In late August 2023, Mr. Bayless learned that Mr. Sharp and Ms. Faraji had never been involved romantically. Subsequently, Mr. Bayless pulled Ms. Faraji aside for a conversation. During this conversation, Mr. Bayless apologized for accusing her of having sex with Mr. Sharp, disclosing details regarding his August 21st. Okay, so he's the one who told her about his meeting with Human Services. That's how she got the information. He told her about it, and further discussed that Mr. Dixon wants her fired because she knew too much and was talking. Well, that's what happened. Joy took her to all these interactions she had with people, so the lady knew too much. Mr. Bayless also disclosed that, let me see, well, hold up for a minute. And I think that's why Joy ultimately didn't become friends with her anymore, because she realized after 7 years, damn, I've let this lady in behind the scenes and she knows entirely too much about what's been going on. So I think she just trying to distance herself from the lady, but I don't think anybody knew that this lady was keeping meticulous records. Let me see. He said he further disclosed that Mr. Dixon wants to fire Ms. Faraji because she knew too much and was talking. Mr. Bayless also disclosed that he believed Mr. Dixon kept his wife on Fox's payroll to keep her silent about his affairs with Fox employees. Dang, dude got his own wife on the payroll. Mr. Bayless asked Ms. Faraji out to dinner to continue the conversation. Damn, he's still trying to sneak in there. But Ms. Faraji declined, stating that she cannot do anything that gives an interference of non-work relationships because she wants to keep her job. Damn, Skip. Skip really like this lady. I would like to see what she looks like, because Skip is shooting his shot relentless. On October 18, 2023, Mr. Bayless told Ms. Faraji that Mr. Dixon was continuing to push him to ask for a different hairline stylist, but Mr. Bayless refused. Ms. Faraji's diary entry for that day says, "I feel desperate. I don't know how to save my job. Charlie is the big boss, and I'm just a hairstylist with no power." Skip is saying that Joy is telling Charlie to get rid of me. So then, October 20th, 2023, Mr. Bayless told Ms. Faraji that Mr. Dixon had threatened his job because he continually requested Ms. Faraji, stating that he would rather have another pretty girl on Undisputed over Mr. Bayless anyway. Oh, December 21st, 2023, Mr. Bayless told Ms. Faraji he still loved her and confided that Mr. Dixon was the one who told him that Ms. Faraji was sleeping with Mr. Sharp. Dang! Mr. Bayless then again tried to have sex with Ms. Faraji. Damn, Skip? Skip still keep trying to get at this lady. Okay, let me see what we got here tomorrow. Okay, so a lot of it just goes more to paint a picture behind the scenes how other employees were sticking up to bullying and racism and they were getting fired. And then she started trying to rally people, saying she would be the one who speaks out on her coworkers' behalfs. Which, I'm sorry, in that type of environment, that's going to get you out of there. She said one of her coworkers tried to commit suicide due to all the stuff that was going on there. Okay, so on June 24th, 2024, a talent member disclosed to Ms. Faraji that Undisputed was going to be canceled and that Mr. Bayless was going to be fired. Dang. Ms. Faraji grew internally anxious that Mr. Dixon was trying to get her fired. Later that week on Monday, Ms. Faraji gave Mr. Bayless a haircut. During the haircut, Mr. Bayless told her about a new opportunity he was expecting outside of Fox. Ms. Faraji asked if he would still be coming back to do Undisputed, and he replied, of course. Mr. Bayless told Ms. Faraji that he fantasizes about having sex with her and asked her how much money it would take for her to have sex with him. Ms. Faraji stated that she already refused $1.5 million and that her answer wasn't going to change. Mr. Bayless replied, "The more you say no, the more I want you." Damn, Skip. He was trying. My God, he just would not say no. On August 2nd, 2024, Undisputed was canceled. Mr. Bayless was fired, and Ms. Faraji was taken off the schedule. Ms. Peretti told Ms. Faraji there was no longer a need for her. Well, of course, she was only doing the people on that show's hair. That same day, Mr. Bayless asked Ms. Faraji to walk him to his car on his way out. Ms. Faraji felt that she had no choice but to walk him to his car. Once at his car, they noticed Mr. Dixon in the parking lot looking at them. Mr. Bayless told Ms. Faraji, "F Charlie. If you want to sue them, go for it. F them. Charlie is not going to sleep tonight. He's scared of what I'm going to tell you. F him." That same day, Ms. Faraji reached out to Fox, asked why she was taken off the schedule, and explained that although Undisputed had been canceled, she had worked for The Herd for over 5 years and Speak for over 1 year, and the talent continued to request her. Fox did not provide a substantive response, but they said they would investigate the issue. On August 5th, 2024, Ms. Faraji was asked to give Mr. Silverman a haircut in the same manner she had been doing for over the last 7 years. Ms. Faraji then reached out to Fox to ask what she should do, and she did not want to let Mr. Silverman down. The next day, Fox again did not provide a substantial response, but said they are continuing to investigate the issue. So on August 8th, 2024, they told her they could only afford to have one hairstylist working on all 3 shows. A new morning show, Speak, and Undisputed. Ms. Faraji's fears actualized as she realized she had become the target. Fox systematically reduced her work schedule and ultimately terminated her employment by removing her from the schedule entirely, using fabricated business necessities as pretext. Guided by its attorneys, Fox then implemented the revised schedule, assigning a single hairdresser to cover all 3 shows for approximately 3 months. Once Fox believed it had significantly justified its actions from a legal standpoint, they reverted to their long-standing scheduling arrangement, which included one hair and makeup professional in the morning and another set in the afternoon, the same arrangement that had been in place for years during Ms. Faraji's tenure. Okay, let's see what we have here. Dang, she remained quiet. So after she was fired, she remained quiet because she thought that Mr. Dixon might hire someone to unalive her if she went public. That's just crazy. This does read like some Lifetime movie type stuff. Okay, now let's see where we're going here. Now it just goes through what she did and remedies she tried to do, and then she brought up this class action lawsuit. Okay. Let me see if we got any more juicy stuff in here. So a lot of this is about how the environment of Fox and how they treated their workers. That's a lot of the class action lawsuit is about. She's doing a lot of this for the workers, but then the juicy part is just the Skip Bayless, the Joy Taylor, and all that stuff behind the scenes. So I think I went through most of the juicy stuff. I'm sorry this is a long video and it's probably kind of boring, but I just wanted to read some of this because I thought this was interesting and this is crazy, and I don't know how they're gonna go forward with Fox, all their sports shows, because this impacts a lot of their sports shows. And I know everybody doesn't want to talk about it, but what does this mean for Acho? What does this mean for Joy Taylor? Skip Bayless is already off, but what does that mean for him? Because he doesn't have too many prospects now. He's doing his own little podcast and stuff. But if he thought about coming back to the sports, to the sports world, that's probably pretty much done now. Even though he told her to sue, I'm pretty sure he didn't think she was going to say all the stuff that he did. So I know he's probably blindsided by that, and he's probably got an answer to his wife. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you did get through this, if you slogged through this whole video with me. I'm sorry it wasn't super entertaining or anything like that, but I just wanted to read through it. I thought a lot of this stuff was very interesting, and it just seems crazy that all this was going on behind the scenes. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Did you always assume that Joy was sleeping her way to the top, or there was some crazy stuff? Did anybody knew that Skip? I kind of figured Skip might have been like that, but I always thought he was an asshole on the air, but I didn't think he was some sexual deviant dude trying to beg some lady to sleep with him for years or offering crazy amounts of money. That just seems wild. But anyway, like I said, leave in the comments. Did you always assume that Joy was doing this? Does it surprise you about Skip Bayless? Does it surprise you about Emmanuel Acho and Joy? And what ramifications will this have going forward to all the sports shows on different networks and how they operate? Anyway, until next time, I'm out. Peace.